Wow, wow. I feel like Kid and Play right now. Bring it to old school.
I want to chop literally one of your dreads off right now.
Oh, wow. Just not the one that I dyed. Anyways. And we're back. So, today's episode, it's probably the most raw, emotional episode probably that we're
How do you
gonna
know
have.
that?
Because it's just something that hits home for us, both. And it's talking about heartbreak. This is the Heartbreak Hotel. This is the... It's a... Come on, there's like... No,
She says it a couple more times.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I
Didn't even, let me segue into it.
What?
You really messed that up for us, Whitney. Oh, R.I.P.
I know. I was like... Jeez.
So, yeah. Heartbreak.
Yeah, so that's going to be a topic today. So I'm going to first start off by asking Brylan.
Oh, you get to ask the questions?
Yes, I get to... Well, we're going to go back and forth. So it's not... Usually it's like a Q&A, but today...
What is wrong with my facial expressions? Do I always look like that?
Yeah, you'll just randomly just be in mid-sentence like... I'm like... And
Flexing.
I'm in mid talking and I'm like, keep it together. But it's gonna kind of be like a both because both of us it's kind of hits home for the both of us, and so we're just gonna start off talking about heartbreak and what it's. Number one, how we got ourselves into those situations. I think a lot of what we talked about last week about people pleasing kind of, I know for me, kind of led me into some situations that I knew I probably shouldn't have further gone into with the red flags. We all talk about red flags in life and we ignore them. But so we're just going to kind of talk about how we got ourselves in those situations, what we were feeling through those situations, how we coped or got over those situations. And I know there's a few situations in both of our lives that...
These are 15-minute episodes. Like, are you sure we can dive in here?
maybe we'll cut this part 1, part 2. Or maybe... I mean, if it goes, it's real raw. So if we're talking, we're talking. They'll cut it off if they don't want to listen anymore.
Stop hitting the table. You're literally...
sorry. They'll cut it off if they don't want to listen anymore. But I feel like, with what we have to talk about, they'll stay tuned. So... We're not just going to cut it off because they're like 15-minute episodes. If we feel it, it's going to like come from the heart, real, raw, and regular.
I'm going to take myself off of the contract the next time you say real, raw, and regular.
But it like...
Okay, my Harry Potter's coming out. Seriously, what's the question? Hit me with it.
How did you get yourself into most of your heartbreak situations? And did you know going into them what kind of the outcome would be, or did you not?
You know what's so funny? I think in the beginning of relationships, friendship, love, whatever they might be, we just ignore everything so new and exciting that you ignore so much of the bad because you're like, this is new, this is fun, this is exciting. For myself, I had posted on something on Instagram one time, just like it said, all y'all happy out here to be the side piece. Okay, coleslaw, right? And I laughed so hard when I saw it. And then I started crying because I was like, you're the coleslaw. Like, I was like, wow. Like, in this life, because of just people pleasing and ignoring red flags, I had allowed myself to become less than. I had allowed myself to be the tail and not the head. I allowed myself to be conquered instead of a conqueror. And I just believe that our minds have a lot of play in that. And I did go into those situations thinking that they would end awesome because I think sometimes we make up these stories in our heads. Like, we literally ignore what's right in front of our face because we want to see what we want to see when we want to see it, thinking that we can change another person, we can change the situation, we can change the outcome, when all the facts are there. So I think with relationships, a lot of the heartbreak comes because you're just blinded, and not because you can't see, but almost because you don't want to see.
Sure.
And I think that comes from, for me anyways, like I think that in general, I just love love. I love to love people. I love to encourage people. I love to hug people. I love to laugh with people. So then you get this...
Don't hug me.
So then you get this person in your life that's laughing with you and loving you and kind of halfway. Kind of for me, all of my relationships have been in the dark, and when I say that, I mean like my friends, my family knew like who this person was to me, who how much I cared about them, how much I loved them, and that person knew that my circle knew, my family knew, but when it came to like their life, nobody, I was the bestie. So like it was just the bestie.
The bestie life.
And that was really tough because it's like I was good enough half of the time. And that half of the time I was like amazing. But that other half of the time I was like, nah, chill, son. Like, yeah, grandma can't see you, holding my hand right now. Which was tough, because I always went through my relationships feeling like, why am I not good enough? When the reality of it is I taught every single one of those people how they could treat me. And that kind of stems a little bit from the last time of like, love yourself first. Because if I took the time to love me first, never in a million years would I be in year-long, 2-year-long relationships that were a secret. One of my favorite quotes is, of all of the things that should be kept secret, love should not be one of them. So I think that for me, I just got into them because I was blinded. I got into them because, number one, I didn't know myself. I wasn't willing to get to know myself to understand the type of love that I deserved. And yeah, I just dove in because it was a feeling. It was fleeting. It was a feeling. I was excited about it, and they ended. They ended just as quickly as they started, because they were not built on a solid foundation of truth, a solid foundation of equally yoked partners, on either side. So I think that's how it started for me. What about you?
I think all of my relationships prior, except the one that I'm in now, but prior my relationships, they all started kind of like as for fun. It was just a fun thing to do. Like, they were my friends, and we'd hook up or kiss, but it was just like, I never fell in love right away. I never trusted enough to like love right off the bat. So most of my relationships, they fell for me first. Again, being a secret though. It was the cool swag that I did, like hard to get kind of thing, like cool enough, but like treated them bad. So it was awkward. Thinking back about it, when I think about my first 3 relationships, it started so awkward because it was a game. Like, it was a game for the first while. It was a game. So it wasn't, like you said, built on a solid foundation. There was no real trust, and I didn't think going into them, I never really thought a forever would be. Mostly because a lot of the relationships, that's a different topic, but a lot of relationships around us at the time were failing, like struggling. Our parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, friends' parents, like everybody was either divorced or in a toxic relationship. So relationships themselves didn't seem like a forever to me, but in my mind, I wanted it. In my mind, I wanted somebody to be there. In my mind, I wanted that love, but I didn't know, like you said, how to receive that love, because at the time I really didn't love myself. We kind of relate a lot in that aspect. The only real difference between us, I feel like, is our more sensitive and more, she's a little bit more sensitive, and I'm a little bit more like whatever. But we kind of balance each other out like that. But through relationships and whatnot, we would give, and not really receive. We both were in secret relationships for a long period of time. My longest secret relationship was 8 years. And how does one go through an 8-year relationship as a secret? And that's a question that I kind of, when it ended, was like, you need to figure who you are out, because how in your right mind would you go through 8 years of being a secret when you knew that you really never should have been in this relationship? You created a life with somebody that I knew going into it, there probably wasn't going to be a happy ending. The whole thing of like changing people. Yes, I thought I could change, but I really didn't see it. But it came down, I really didn't see us and always and forever. But I felt like wanted that void. So that person being there, if I opened up to you, I don't open up to people a lot. So when I did that, opened up, it was like, okay, now you have to be in my life, because that vulnerable feeling, who wants to do that again with somebody else? So
Yeah,
you kind of
that's
just you kind of just stick with somebody because it's like, I don't want to go through this whole dating, this whole game, this whole you knowing me, I know us knowing each other, getting deep, the 21 questions, the whole dating thing.
21 Questions is my favorite game.
It is, but it's hard after when you get to number 21. It's like, now what? What are we?
Now you with me. That's
Now
it.
you with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's going into the relationships, opposite of what you thought. I knew going into it, it wouldn't be what it wouldn't be the magical ending. I knew that
Really?
going in. Yeah.
And you stayed even though you didn't think it would?
And I stayed in it.
That's crazy. I always thought it would end good. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is good. Blinders.
Blinders. Mine were. I don't know. It's awkward because I really thought that I could maybe change people's mindsets. I think it was more the secret that kept me. Like, I wanted to be worth the world to know. I wanted to be worth, like, the things that they did, some of the tactics that my exes did. Like, I don't know if I could have lived with how they were forever, but like, I wanted them to tell the world about me. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to be enough for them to be like, this is my girlfriend, not my best friend. This is the person I want to be with. I think that's kind of sick. Like, that's why I stayed. Like, that worth
I don't know that
of
it's sick. I just, that
that
was
worth
your
of-
mindset
yeah.
at the time. And it's crazy because, like, we're here talking all out real, raw, and regular. Is that right?
She said it. Only took episode 6.
We're here talking about that, but the reality of it is there's people behind the screen or wherever you're watching this that you've been through something 100% similar to this. You know, you've stayed in a relationship longer than you should have. Or maybe you're on the other side. You know, maybe you're the person that is keeping, and you know, I love all of my exes. I pray for all of my exes. I'm happy for where they are in their lives.
Same.
But part of me, maybe you're that person on the other side that's like, doesn't want to let go. And I always said the best thing that those secret relationships did for me, like the best thing those people did for me was let me go. Because I think that I might have stayed. You know, I think I might have kept allowing myself to go through that cycle, and whether it was a good thing or a God thing, like, I'm so grateful that they let me go because it allowed me the chance to hurt, to mourn, to get over it, to move on. And I think that we repeat lessons in our life. We repeat lessons until we pass the test. You know, so
100%.
there's a lot of things that we've both been through red flag wise, as far as like, you know, I don't like to like ever say never, right? You don't want to, I would never do that. And then like 2 years later, you're like, Joey, you said, yeah, you know, so
Where you at?
we don't want to put it out there like that. But there's a lot of things, like, I truly believe in my heart that I will never allow myself to be a secret, right? I will never allow myself to feel like, why won't you share me? You know, and that I need that. Like, that was an insecure piece that, like, I allowed myself to be this person because 50% of the time I was good enough, right? So I think that those red flags certainly are something in the beginning that help. But another part that we talked about in some of the other episodes was knowing yourself. You know, because sometimes I was in relationships and part of that 21 questions that she talked about, I'd be like, oh, who's your favorite singer or whatever? And they'd say some off the wall singer, and I'd go YouTube it and listen once. I'm like, oh my God, me too. Like,
Yo.
what?
No,
What?
you did not.
Like, I don't even know who that is, but it
You
worked.
sing the chorus with him too.
Yeah, just like study the things that
That's
they love so
crazy.
much. And I was like, we have so much in common.
True. Actually, that's not that crazy because I do similar things. But listening to the
Are you trying to call me crazy? Like,
that was great. Like, yeah, me too.
yeah.
I did
him.
similar things too, though. Like doing things out of your character, out of the things that you would do, just to connect on another level. To be like, I'm your perfect soulmate. Like,
Yeah.
look,
If we
can do
took a
all of
test,
this.
we'd be compatible.
Yeah, that's funny. But I did the same things too, but just not YouTube.
So this ended up being a little funnier than I thought it would be. I didn't cry. I'm so proud of myself. I
Yeah.
thought I was going to cry. There's not one tear. There's still this guy.
Yo, he's been here for a while, man.
But no, so again, just this video, I hope it encourages someone to understand like how worthy you are. I don't care who you are listening to this. You are worthy of the best type of love. So but here's the thing. I think right now, or even for Brooklyn before she got into her current relationship, we were both on a mission to become the type of people that we wanted to be, to attract the type of partner that we wanted to attract, right? So, it's not like, oh, I'm going to do what I want and find this great story. It's like, no, I'm going to be the type of person that I would want to share my life with. Sure. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be hardworking. I'm going to have goals. I'm going to be disciplined. Because you attract who you are. You're not going to do the same things you were doing in secret relationship 1, 2, and 3 and not end up in secret relationship 4. Like, it's just not going to happen. It is not going to happen. So first thing was knowing how to love me, so that when someone came up and was like, hey, you're kind of cute, but I can't tell nobody you're cute. Like, nah, you telling everybody I'm cute. Hashtag real cute. Like, whatever the case is.
Hashtag no BFFs on this side.
But just really diving in to be the person that was worthy of loving the person that was coming into our life when the timing is right, when that should happen. So that is my biggest takeaway of all of that. And
Same.
What about you?
Honestly, the same. Like, making sure that you know who you are before getting into any kind of relationship, because I feel like when you know who you are, you know what you will and will not tolerate. You know what you will and will not accept.
Yeah.
It's not saying that relationships aren't compromised. We're not saying that relationships aren't work, because the relationship I'm in now, I'm happy. I'm happy in the relationship I am in, and it's different. We're both teaching each other things, because I'm different than what she's used to, and she's different than what I'm used to. So going from a negative, toxic relationship in the past to a good one, you kind of bring the past with you, like waiting and expecting the things that happened in the past to happen in this. So you have to know yourself to know the things that you want to grow into and who you're willing to grow into with, and are they willing to grow in the same direction that you're going. And that's
so crazy. She this is a little longer episode than we had
it's
imagined.
About relationships. This hits home
she had
for
mentioned
us.
Earlier just kind of like the relationships around us not being the greatest, and I really think that that's something to maybe take inventory of. If you're struggling in a current relationship, if you're just trying to find that peace. So I'm not sure how, our parents are divorced. They fought a lot growing up, and I don't think that either of them would be upset that we said that out loud. We're just kind of sharing our lives here, because people go through, and I think sometimes it's good to talk about these parts. It's good to talk about the behind the scenes, because what we saw, it played a role in our lives too. Like, we saw a behavior which repeated a cycle over. I mean, our parents were married 26 years, and I maybe shouldn't be born. And that's thank you, Jesus, for thinking of me in your almighty plan. But we saw that cycle repeated, and again, it'll repeat itself. So part of what we would like to do going forward is kind of break those chains, and in relationships, especially with text messaging and social media and all of these different key things, it's so easy to just like avoid a conflict with your partner, avoid having tough conversations. But I mean, with the divorce rate over 50%, like, you got to talk. Like, what are you talking about in the beginning, and not talking about like, yo, let's go get Chipotle, or no, I don't want Chipotle, let's get Pizza Hut, or whatever that is. Like,
if they're asking you to Pizza Hut, leave them. It's all
that's
about
not
Papa
good
John's.
Relationship advice.
It's all about Papa John's.
That's really bad relationship advice.
They know I'm kidding. Come on.
But do they?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But yeah. having conversations, that matter. Are we going to go to church together? Are we going to have kids?
The real
stuff.
Are we
going to be in New York forever? Do you eventually want to move? Like, what are your goals long term? Like, what excites you? Those things are important. So then you get into a relationship and you're pretending to know their favorite singer because that's how you wanted to get them, and it's like all of a sudden when the walls start tumbling down, it's like, yeah, we built this off of untruths. We built this off of things that weren't solid. And I think one thing that I know going forward is like, I'm going to have conversations that matter, because it's not about a checklist. Does this person meet this criteria? But for me, and just as an example, like, I don't know that I could be in a relationship going in the future if a person doesn't have a relationship with God. Like, that's important to me. That's a non-negotiable to me.
Non-negotiable.
That's, like, maybe you want to dye your hair black one day. Like, that's okay. It's not on my checklist, right? It's not on my checklist. But there's some things that are non-negotiable. And I think that too many of us go into friendships, relationships, environments that we say, like, that we're compromising on. So that is my take on that. Take an inventory of your pasts, of the relationships that you had to role model. And if they weren't the one that you kind of want to live in, surround yourself in different relationships. There's so much knowledge, wisdom out there on this topic. You can literally unlearn bad habits. You can literally unlearn toxic relationships. You can learn how to communicate. It takes time, but it is so worth it. So
that's so good. I'm snowballing off of that for 2 seconds.
She loves snowballs.
Snowballing off of that. It's so funny because it reminds me of Bridesmaids when she's like snowballing off of that. Fight Club.
Yeah. Not even a snowball.
Melissa McCartney is so funny. But snowballing off of that about like seeing relationships around your life. I mean, our mom to this day had told us that, when we were going through a heartbreak, there's nothing worse than a parent hearing their daughter or son cry. Like, it breaks your parents' hearts. So she kind of took that blame upon herself. Like, oh, I taught you kids to go back. I taught you kids, like, to stay in toxic relationships. I taught you kids this kind of behavior, that it's okay in a relationship. And she kind of took that responsibility on herself. But it comes a time in our own lives that we know what's right and wrong. Like, and that's the one thing that I told my mom. Like, yes, I get that, and yes, I don't think they should have been together, but I'm my own person. We have to hold ourselves accountable to the decisions that we make and not put blame on others. At some point in our life, it's like, it's our life now. Yes, that's what we saw. Yes, that's what we like got accustomed to, and that's something that we think about. Like, oh, is this why we are the way we are? But when you start to grow and you start to expand your mind and you start to think about the things that happen in your own life, there's no better feeling than holding yourself accountable and knowing that I appreciate everything in my past. I don't regret my past. I've learned so much from that, but I held myself accountable to that because I made those decisions. I went back. I wasn't 9 years old, 10 years old. I was grown. That 8-year relationship was my whole 20s. Like, you know better at 20 whether or not it's right or wrong, or I had that feeling of it not being right, and I stayed anyway. So kind of just the ending of what I want to say is, don't put blame on the things that are around you. Even though you're surrounded by craziness, at the end of the day, it's your life. At the end of the day, you make your decisions. At the end of the day, you have that gut feeling. At the end of the day, you saw those red flags. So it's like...
I remember, like, neon green.
Yeah, they were in the nighttime, too, highlighters. Like, they were everywhere. And we chose to ignore them, and that's a choice that we made because we're blinded. But you live, love, and learn, and grow.
She's just, like, taking Pampers highlights now.
I kind of reworded everything so it wasn't, like, copyright or whatever,
And so we just hope this added value to you guys. If there's something that you want to take as an action step from here, it's just take inventory. Take inventory on your thoughts. Take inventory on things that you want to change. And knowing that maybe you're in a relationship that's not the greatest, it's not about trying to change the other person. Never. Where do you need to change? Where do you need to take accountability, like Brooklyn said? And how can you move forward? Move forward. You can't live in the past. It happened. There's that quote. I'm always full of quotes. Like, it's why the rear view mirror, the windshield is bigger than the rear view. You don't want to look back too long because you will crash. So we love you.
If you have any questions, email us. Again, we love hearing from you. We love taking in the...
What is wrong with me?
You're just doing the... Hello. Call us.
Yeah, you're like, we want to hear from you. I'm like,
yeah. I didn't even see that. Oh, that's good.
All right.
But we love you, and we'll see you next time.
You got to stop it. It's your job. It's on the contract.